In Bristol, Customs Officer Joe has intercepted 2 passengers returning from Spain with 8,000 cigarettes. Spain is within the EU, so Joe just needs to work out their consumption rates and make sure they're not intending to sell the goods illegally. Easier said than done.
Right, and these are your cigarettes, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many do you smoke? Both.
Oh, I smoked a few, not too much. She smokes a lot more than me.
So how much do you smoke?
Jesus.
500 a week.
Sorry?
500 a week.
500 a week.
I smoked quite a few, but between
How many is that a day then?
I smoke about 50 or 60 a day.
50 or 60 a day. How many do you smoke?
I smoke about 30.
like a trooper. She smoked.
Have you been stopped once before?
No, I haven't.
No?
Yeah, we haven't been stopped.
Who is he anyhow? What is he? What is he? A pilot or something?
Yeah, we didn't have anything.
No?
No.
Okay. All right, so...
What are you, a pilot?
A pilot?
Well, you've got things
No,
on.
I'm a customs officer.
Oh,
All right, just bear with me
I
a minute.
didn't know that.
Joe now needs to work out if he believes their story.
She's got open packets on him. Can't really get a lot of sense out of him. But she reckons she smokes 50, 60, and she possibly could. She's already had one. She's going again on Sunday though. But I'm tempted to, with the way everything's going, just to write down what he got and see what she brings in on Sunday.
Yeah, it's fair enough, yeah.
Joe decides to let them go.
You want to put them in your bag?
Put them in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Sensing it's his lucky day, the passenger decides to try it on.
Got any bottles of spirit she could sell a bit cheap?
No, sorry. We're not allowed to do that, I'm afraid.
Hey?
No, we can't do that, I'm afraid.
Hey, can't you let us... Hey, a couple of bottles of spirits just for, for Christmas. Oh, they're getting the spirit of things.
Okay.
The lady will be searched again when she returns on Sunday.
If she brings anything through next time she travels, then she won't be. She'll be losing that basically. But I really doubt she will.
Got it down
There
here,
it is.
2 trips before
There.
that.
And at the end of it, I think they're quite happy. He was quite happy, and quite a character. He even offered for me to go round his house for a cup of tea one day, which is quite nice.
In Dover, customs officers face a massive challenge sniffing out drug dealers from the thousands of trucks streaming across the channel 24 hours a day.
At the end of the day, we are here first and foremost to stop drugs coming into the country. That's our primary role. If we get a smell of anything, we'll track it down until we either find it or we're happy that there's nothing there.
Usually the intelligence hub picks out target vehicles based on a variety of profiles.
Right.
But today, Mark is literally following his nose.
I just caught it again as well.
He's picked up a suspicious scent, and the Dutch truck must now be thoroughly searched.
Around the other side, when I was doing the outsides, I caught a whiff of what I thought was perhaps a herbal substance. I don't want to say too much, the driver's right behind you. Some kind of a possibly controlled drug. Yeah. I think it's strong enough to have a look in the vehicle. And 3 of us have caught a whiff of it. Offload bay round there, and we want to take part of your load off and have a look in the lorry, okay? Yeah, over there, yeah.
Mark then spots something else that adds to his suspicions.
I just noticed that the tyres and some parts of it underneath are splattered with mud. Begs the question, has he been off-road somewhere? Has he been diverted for a purpose? The pallet he's getting off now is the one that was nearest to the smell, if you like, at the front left-hand corner. I can't smell anything now, funnily enough, but we'll have a look. Yeah.
The driver can claim compensation for any damage, but Mark thinks this truck needs this final test. Perhaps the smell of cannabis was coming from another vehicle, and Mark decides it's time to let this driver go.
Yeah.
Sprawdzono mi towar, naczepę, przewiercono, prześwietlono, sprawdzono całe auto. I myślę, że wszystko jest ok, że jest super, jest dobrze.
And as one job finishes, another ferry full of potential smugglers hits the docks.
Still call one even if they're at lunch.
Another target vehicle coming in on the 1300 arrival from Dunkirk. It's all go sometimes. I did say Thursday was a busy day.
Officers in Gatwick are also investigating a possible Class A drug smuggler acting suspiciously at immigration control.
As soon as she was starting to be questioned, she said she wants to go to the loo, so she might have something concealed inside her or on her body she wants to get rid of. Morning. So you've come in from Nigeria?
Yes.
You live in Nigeria?
No, I live here.
You live here? Whereabouts do you live here? Waltham Abbey? Okay, what do you do here?
Care assistant.
Okay, so how long have you been in Nigeria for this trip?
2 weeks.
Is that a holiday or business?
Holiday.
Okay, seeing family, friends?
Yeah, my family.
Okay. This is all your baggage?
Yes.
And you packed it all yourself?
Yes, please.
Okay, you come into the Green Channel, nothing to declare. Do you understand what you're allowed to bring into the
My clothes and my food stuff.
Okay. You realise there are other restrictions on coming into the country, things like drugs and firearms. Has anyone asked you to bring anything here?
No.
Has anyone forced you to bring anything here?
No.
Okay, let's have a quick look, shall we? Thank you.
Andy searches the bags. The passenger's still acting nervous, so he also swabs the bags for drugs. The bag tests positive for heroin, so this search will have to go further.
The body language is quite good. I've had a hit of, for heroin on the iron scan. I just want a quick rub down, make sure she's not got anything. Okay, just before you go, I'd just like for a lady officer to make sure you have nothing on you. Okay, you have any problem with that? Oh, good, thank you.
Hundreds of passengers a year are caught smuggling drugs through Gatwick. The body search will find out if this passenger is one of them. Back in Dover, the next target has been pulled by the specialist rummage team. It's an awkward load, exactly the sort of cover used by smugglers to conceal drugs and tobacco.
It's just such a loose description, isn't it? I mean, it is. It's a children's playground, isn't it, basically?
Yeah. Well, at the moment, it's been quite easy.
Yeah, the bags of balls, yeah.
Oh, right. Exactly go.
Yeah. It might take a while. It's all going to be handballed off, basically. I mean, I don't know whether they get a forklift in there and get some of the stuff, but... I mean, yeah, you see things like this now and again, but it's not the norm. I mean, I'm just guessing it's some sort of children's playground that's been out in Spain for the season and is being brought back. It is a good cover load, isn't it? I mean, it's very difficult to get over the top of and to see in amongst.
After hours of offloading, the team finds some suspiciously heavy wooden boxes.
As soon as I saw it,
Yeah.
that's not right.
No, they've made it look like the spongy steps, haven't they?
It's extremely suspicious, so the team decide to drill the boxes.
And I mean, you saw the load, how difficult it was to get in. They've managed to get themselves in there, identified these packages. They've drilled a hole, and inside there's some green plastic. I think it's in that one. It's in that one. It's in that one. And it's in that one.
Stuart thinks the plastic packaging could indicate drugs.
I would think that there'll be a large quantity of cannabis in there, maybe up to a ton.
The driver is arrested while they work out what they've found.
But it's a slow, methodical process now. The guy's arrested, there's no rush.
After another 2 hours of careful unpacking, the moment of truth has arrived.
He's just about to take the lid off. I think in the porn industry, this is the money shot, isn't it?
It's a massive haul of what looks like cannabis.
Can't smell anything. I'm guessing it's cannabis resin in there.
You can't smell it.
Still can't get anything off it.
All it smells the plastic.
All the boxes are full of bales of cannabis, which have apparently come from a special garden.
The maker's manufacturer mark. It's just their. It's come from that particular cannabis farm in Morocco, or wherever it is it's come from, and that they put their own stamp on it, and that's how it gets shipped out.
The officers now want to know just how much they've seized from the smugglers. It's the biggest haul of cannabis at Dover for years.
Sorry, 928 kilos. About.
And the specialist rummage team are delighted.
928 kilos is nearly a ton, so that's excellent. We've had a bit of a lean period actually, our team. We've gone 3 months maybe without anything. We've had a few little cigarette seizures might have been on the way, but this is what we call a proper job, really.
In Gatwick, the female officers have arrived to search the woman whose bags tested positive for heroin.
We do a rub-down search for us, just make sure she's got nothing on her.
Customs sees over 400 kilos of heroin each year, and officers in Gatwick regularly catch smugglers willing to go to great lengths to hide their packages.
If you're going to do it, you might as well be thorough. And the whole bending over squatting thing, if somebody's got a package shoved up the backside, then if you bend them over and squat, then unfortunately you can either see the package or it'll come out generally.
Okay, and what you'll need to do is squat down for me so I can check that you haven't got anything inserted in any of your orifices, okay? So you'll need to squat down for me, turn around, bend over and pat your buttock cheeks for me as well. But as I said, you won't be touched at any time, so there's no need to worry about that. And if I can get you to hold on to the side of the bench, okay, and if you can pat your buttock cheeks a little bit with your hands. Pat your buttock cheeks.
That's it, but don't fall forward, that's it.
That's fine, okay, and if you can just turn around for me and squat down for me as well. So I can... Right, okay, that's fine.
The search finds nothing, but the passenger is surprisingly understanding of her treatment.
It's good, because it makes you to be scared to do such things. I came to this country just to make a living for me and my children and my family. That's it. I do my work. I can work 24/7. I don't want just quick money or anything. I believe in my handiwork, what I can do with my hands to get money. I know that.
Today is the start of a 2-week tour of duty for the customs officers aboard Customs Cutter Searcher.
Which may cause a problem.
The intelligence hub has identified a ship heading to the Cornish port of Foy from Turkey, the gateway to Europe for heroin from the opium poppy countries of Asia.
She's Turkish with 15 Turkish crew on board. Obviously with a Turkish ship, we've got the possibility of heroin being on board the ship. There's also a good chance there'll be some cigarette smuggling from Romania because L&Ms are extremely cheap.
The race is now on to beat the ship into Foy, so the officers track the vessel into port.
As we may not be expecting us, I doubt very much they'll be expecting us.
Catching smugglers off guard is vital to prevent any drugs or tobacco being thrown overboard before it can be seized.
It's okay?
Okay if we come in, Captain? Have you a crew declaration? Yes. Stores declaration and also a ship's declaration, Captain?
The captain appears to run a tight ship, but sometimes the opportunity for the crew to make extra money on the side can't be resisted.
My crew will be checking the vessel now, and if there's any problems at all, I'll come and have a word with you. I'm not expecting any, so that's okay. You've had no problems with drugs or anything with the crew?
No. I'm sure that's...
You're sure that's okay, yeah? Okay, that's fine. Right, thank you, Captain. I mean, it's from Turkey, so I mean, our suspicions are aroused for heroin really more than anything else. Also, as we mentioned before, cigarettes are cheap in Turkey, and it's also come via Romania and Spain, which are also quite cheap for buying cigarettes. So there is a chance that the crew might be tempted to smuggle large quantities of cigarettes. But what we're really after here is heroin.
Investigation officers in Dover also work around the clock to stop organised criminal gangs bringing drugs into Britain.
Back in July of 2004, a vehicle was stopped at the Eastern Docks at Dover, driven by a gentleman by the name of David Williams. When his lorry was stopped and searched, a couple of brown-taped packages were found in the cab of his lorry.
The packages were full of drugs.
As a result of that, David Williams was arrested. And that was how it all began.
Williams was questioned about the drugs, while his truck, belonging to Peter Jones Haulage, was impounded and searched, much to the annoyance of its owner.
Well, Mr. Jones would have been quite enthusiastic to get his trailer back anyway, because he had a business to run, apparently. There had been 1 or 2 calls where he would make inquiries as to when he could have his trailer back. And Well, he was overly enthusiastic, in my opinion.
Alerted by his urgency to recover the truck, investigators began to dig into Peter Jones's background.
Peter Jones had been convicted twice before. In 1997 as part of a conspiracy to import drugs within adapted exhausts in units, articulated units. At that point, I sort of decided that perhaps we ought to look a bit deeper into the either the unit or the trailer.
Now knowing Peter Jones's pedigree, the search wouldn't miss the clues a second time.
In the side locker of the trailer, there was a box of grey bungs, and they were sort of consistent with the bungs that were holding the mudguards over the wheels on the trailer.
They found a strange tool which unlocked a secret compartment full of Class A drugs.
Once they'd finished the search, they removed a large number, a further large number of packages, and a significant quantity of cocaine and heroin amongst those packages.
The elaborately engineered concealment fitted perfectly with Jones's previous attempt, and it was obvious why he'd been so keen to get his truck back. A team of specialist officers went to Liverpool to arrest Jones and gather financial evidence, which would prove his lavish lifestyle could only be funded by drug dealing.
So it was put to Mr. Jones during the interview that he seemed to have a far better standard of living than the officer who interviewed him, who coincidentally was on the same money that was declared by Jones. And Jones quite simply said, well, he didn't drink and he didn't smoke, and by making these savings he could afford the extra 3 or 4 cars a year, the big house, the luxury holidays.
When interviewed, Jones denied any knowledge of the attempted importation.
His response to the drugs being found were that he had no idea they were in his trailer. His response to the fact that the trailer had been adapted suggested to him that, in fact, it wasn't his trailer after all. It must have been David Williams that switched the trailers, and in fact his trailer had gone somewhere, disappeared. So I set out to prove that the trailer did belong to him.
But investigators found serial numbers on the recently replaced tyres, which they traced to a supplier. They confirmed it was Jones who'd paid for the tyres, in cash. The game was surely up for Jones, but he wasn't ready to give in yet.
He'd pleaded not guilty for some time, and it was quite surprising that he had, bearing in mind the evidence that was gradually building up.
Jones pleaded guilty on the day of the trial and was sentenced to 13 years in prison for attempting to import drugs worth over £1 million.
He was a very greedy man, and he became complacent, and he was caught.
Meanwhile, back in Cornwall, no heroin has been found, but a search for cigarettes is underway. The Turkish crew are only allowed 200 cigarettes each whilst in UK waters. All other tobacco must be kept in a sealed store called the Pond.
Right then, boys, as far as the crew themselves go, nobody has declared more than 200 cigarettes. And only 4 people have any spirits at all.
But what the crew declare isn't always the whole truth. And so the officers must search the entire ship for illegal goods, which might be destined for the local black market. Not surprisingly, the cabin searches reveal a few stray cigarettes.
It's okay so far. I mean, some of the crew have got a little bit extra, but there's no point upsetting people just for tiny quantities of cigarettes.
But Woody also finds a stash in the ship's office and in the wheelhouse. The ship may not be as clean as first thought.
Was the cigarettes that were there earlier on? These? Okay. We've checked in here already. We've checked the chief officer's cabin, and the cigarettes that were up there have moved down here now, and they're moving things around to try and confuse us. Right, on this occasion, can you tell the chief I'll just take the cigarettes from him? Otherwise, we have these going ashore for business, yeah? And we want no business in Foy. So I wouldn't usually take a small amount like that, but because he's been obstructive in trying to move the cigarettes around, that's the reason I'm taking them from him. Well, we're just a bit concerned that there seems to be a lot of stray cigarettes around the vessel.
Yes.
We found, like you said, 300 in the chart table, 300 in the office. Yes. Are there any more cigarettes before we search the vessel any further now?
I think no, just the one, please. No.
No, that's definitely no more cigarettes, no?
No.
If there are any more cigarettes now, this is an opportunity for you to ask the crew to bring the cigarettes to us now before we find them. If we find cigarettes now when we search, we will have to work for them and we will be cross. and we will probably find the vessel. Okay. So this is a chance for you to come to us now with any cigarettes, yeah?
No, we don't have the more cigarettes.
No more cigarettes. Okay, good. Thank you, Captain.
Okay.
But Woody then finds another 2,000 cigarettes in the captain's cabin, which will have to be seized.
Yes. In one drawer, or four. He stood in front of the next drawer. I searched everywhere, waited for him to move. I opened the drawer he stood in front of, opened the drawer, found the remainder.
The embarrassed captain asks Senior Officer Colin for clemency.
Could I take back the little bits, because not enough our cigarettes for the Turkey from here. For that reason, could I take a little bit more cigarettes?
You go back to Turkey?
11 days. Yes.
11 days trip?
From here. Plus 2 days here.
Yeah.
13 days.
Captain, I'm sorry, but the answer is... If you said...
opinion.
I know, but if you put in the list, you'd said the cigarettes that you had, we could have had them in the bond locker, but because you
yeah, of course.
did that, but you didn't tell us you had the cigarettes. Okay, and there's, in this country, I know some places you go, there's representation, customs come, they take cigarettes, all that happens. Here, it doesn't happen.
The cigarettes will all be destroyed, and the vessel will receive a hefty fine if caught breaking the rules again. There was insufficient evidence to charge the driver of the playground truck, but 980 kilos of cannabis worth £2.8 million is safely off the streets. In Bristol, early morning flights are being targeted by customs officers, clamping down on passengers attempting to profit from cheap and illegal tobacco from outside the EU.
Colleagues at the back are having a look, see if they can pick out any cigarettes or tobacco, possibly drugs as well. I'll stop whoever needs to be stopped.
Yeah, we've got just the one bag. Is a black and grey, big, soft-sided bundle.
Okay, thank you. It's bag coming through now.
And watches closely to identify the passenger.
Guy with a white t-shirt.
Then waits for him to walk through the green channel. If he has cigarettes, it's at this point an offence has been committed.
Are you aware of the allowances of what you are actually allowed to bring back from Turkey with regards to cigarettes and tobacco?
No.
Okay. Did you purchase any tobacco, cigarettes, alcohol? Who are they for? Are they...
For me and my wife.
Right.
So,
yeah. And we just went by what they told us.
They say they've been given false information in Turkey.
He's actually got somewhere in the region of 4,000 cigarettes, and you are only allowed 200, so that's quite excessive amount to bring back, really.
You just go by what they allow you and pay the consequences, possibly.
It's going to be an expensive mistake,
Good reason.
and gives the man the bad news.
It's an offence because you didn't declare it. If you'd have declared it when you came in, before you came through the channels, if you'd have come to one of us and said, got this amount.
Excuse me, I've got to the end of that thing. There's no something to declare or nothing to declare.
There is a red point down there with a phone. He said, it's right by the bag, where the bags come out. As a possibility, you would have been allowed to pay the duty on the cigarettes. But for an amount like this, 5,000 cigarettes, when you're actually only allowed to bring back 200, it's just too much. It's too much, I'm sorry.
In Dover, customs officers are hunting for smugglers on a different scale, and trucks carrying certain cargoes set the alarm bells ringing. This lorry full of chipboard is a prime target.
Or the vehicle looks a bit dodgy, yeah.
Armed with their giant X-ray, customs can quickly scan huge trucks, and innocent drivers can be sent happily on their way.
This load is chipboard, the zone's intact, you're free to scan.
Thank you. So we're looking for any inconsistency. I've been told the load's chipboard, so it should just be the same all the way through. There's something in there that shouldn't be there. This here, there's a shadow across the centre there. You can see the shadow even more there, right across the centre.
The X-ray has picked up a large anomaly, which needs further investigation.
Show up. Sneaky. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
It looks highly suspicious. So the truck will now need to be offloaded. It will take hours, meaning a long delay for the driver. Back in Bristol, the man who's had his cheap Turkish cigarettes seized by Anne isn't going quietly. After her 12-hour night shift, Anne's doing her best to keep calm.
There's one rule for one person, one rule for a different person. One customs officer will allow one customs officer will allow something totally different.
This is the kind of thing that puts small businesses out of business, and that is what they try to stop.
No, it isn't. It's getting the money from for the government.
It's a large amount, and it wasn't declared before you came through the channels. You actually came through the channels without making...
What channels you're talking about?
This point down here, that you walked through.
Show me what you're talking about.
The man doesn't have a leg to stand on, and Anne's patience is being tested to the limit.
I understand at this point there is not a green channel because there is construction work taking place. But everybody that wants to declare something should either speak to one of our officers that is stood here, or this red point here. There is a phone, and if you pick it up, you will be connected to a customs officer and you will need to declare what you have. This is a declaration. If you make this, we offer you to pay the duty. Unfortunately, you didn't do that. I had to stop you.
I came from there.
I
walked over to here.
Yes.
I'm looking for my baggage. I come round here. I get my baggage. I look here. Nothing to declare. Arrivals from European Union. Whoosh. Where's something to declare?
This is now something to declare.
Hang on. Where is something to declare?
Well, it
Now,
doesn't
come
need
off
to
eh?
it.
say...
Now, play the game.
It doesn't need to say something to declare. You can read, obviously, and that's...
Nothing to declare. Big letters.
Yes, that is. I'm not going to argue anymore. Look, goods to declare, red point. Warning, if you have failed to make the appropriate...
I didn't know that.
I'm not going to argue
a
about
bit-
it anymore. You do have the right to appeal against my decision. The rules are the rules. I'm sorry, I don't make those rules.
I know, it's just the way, it's just, one for one for another. So I can keep these, can I?
Yes.
As a final act of generosity, Anne decides to let them have back their allowance. But the man's angry mother doesn't know how to keep quiet either.
I think they should be sorted out. They're telling us one thing and law's another thing, though. I'm sorry, but I disagree with that.
Undercover officers also take on cigarette smugglers, but on a global scale. In 2003, investigators in Bristol got a tip-off about second-hand furniture dealer Andrew Smith smuggling cigarettes from the Far East.
Smith's level of business in his income tax returns didn't reflect on the lifestyle he appeared to enjoy. He had a large house and a swimming pool. It was decided that we would mount a surveillance operation on Andrew Smith to identify his associates and to gather evidence to support a likely prosecution for cigarette smuggling. One of these associates was a gentleman in Birmingham called George Grassick. George Grassick had visited Malaysia on a number of occasions, and it was obvious that those visits were to organise the eventual importation of containers.
The investigation uncovered an extremely well-organised criminal gang bringing in containers of cigarettes to Southampton container port.
What they were actually doing was piggybacking containers of flat-pack bunk beds from Malaysia and China. The cigarettes were in identical boxes to the flat-pack bunk beds. The only difference was no bunk beds.
During this surveillance, officers in Southampton x-rayed a container hiding over 2 million cigarettes. But to guarantee a conviction and ensure the maximum sentence, officers also wanted to prove that Smith was responsible for coordinating the importation, which meant proving links to the Far East.
It was clear that in Operation Commute that Smith must have had contacts in the Far East. One person identified through the surveillance was a Malaysian national female.
Smith and the woman were clearly unaware that they were the focus of a high-level surveillance operation.
In July of 2003, officers surveilled Andrew Smith and the Malaysian female at Heathrow Airport. They surveilled the lady checking in for a flight to Malaysia.
The officers searched her bags covertly and found exactly what they needed.
She was totally unaware that the examination had taken place, and officers found a diary, and this female's diary contained handwritten notes relating to containers, freight charges, Far Eastern ports. The evidence of the diary and Smith's association with this Malaysian female, it put him up the ladder a few rungs. It confirmed that he was an organiser of this fraud.
At this point, the officers decided it was time to seize the containers and stop the illegal gang's trade route.
Their funds were being starved. They were running out of money. They needed to think quick. They decided to use another company to import, or another company name to import their containers. The surveillance carried on Smith. On one occasion, Andrew Smith was seen to leave one car and join some associates in another car. A keen officer walked along, had a look through the window, and there was a piece of paper on the back seat. And that piece of paper had a container number on. That container number was the next container we seized.
With a strong case against the two ringleaders assured, Smith and his associates were arrested.
He had actually successfully, with George Grassick, imported 10 containers. With the help of our detection colleagues in Southampton, we seized 11 containers that contained 25 million cigarettes. The total revenue evaded was around about £9 million.
With the sheer scale of the fraud and the overwhelming evidence, investigators weren't surprised by the sentences handed down.
Andrew Smith was sentenced to 3 years, 8 months imprisonment. George Grassick received a prison sentence of 3 years and 11 months. Some people would say they played the game. On this occasion, the authorities won.
Off the coast of Cornwall, Customs cutter searcher is patrolling the limits of British waters, hunting for yachts headed for the UK from the Caribbean.
Right, we're just leaving St Mary's, the Scilly Isles, and we're going out to the west. And we're doing what we call a deep sea sweep. We're looking for anything that's out there, small commercial ships, yachts, fishing vessels. Then we'll go and have a look at them, and within the 12-mile limit we'll board them and see what they're up to.
The Atlantic is increasingly dangerous at this time of year, but smugglers are prepared to risk their lives in the hope of sneaking drugs into the UK undetected.
Territorial waters, we've got the power to board any vessel and ask people questions of where they've come from and search of vessels.
Colin uses a powerful radar to scan the ocean for yachts.
It tells us there's a target there, and that allows us to watch his course and speed, see where he's going, which direction he's going for a start, and then we'll go and actually have a look at him. It's nice to find things, because it gives the guys a buzz. That's what you're here for in the first place.
But today there's nothing around but a vast ocean. And it's easy to see why the cutter crews are the most sought-after jobs in customs.
Beautiful, aren't they? And that was the game you used to do. You could see how close you get to the basket yard.
The chipboard truck with a suspicious X-ray is now in the search bay. The German driver is questioned, while Michael tries to uncover anything stashed inside the load.
Well, it's a load of chipboard, so what we've done is we drilled in 2 holes towards the back. As I drilled through, it kind of went down about that deep, and then just gave way. And as I pulled the drill bit, I could smell a little bit of tobacco, and also I could see little bits of tin foil. The only problem is with wood, sometimes because the drill, it burns it when you're drilling. It can smell a little bit like, kind of tobacco type smells.
It could be a false alarm, but as the top layer of chipboard comes off, the source of the tobacco smell becomes very clear. Michael has uncovered a massive haul of cigarettes in a coffin concealment. The driver is arrested immediately.
Verstehe sowieso gar nichts.
Anything you do say, make different evidence. Do you understand?
Weiß es nicht.
Well, there's a large quantity of tobacco, marked cigarettes. I'm guessing there's some other bits and pieces in boxes and stuff, but we'll find out in a bit. Well, the chipboard load's quite normal, it's quite common. But as you can see, it's easy to conceal items within it because it's only cheap wood, it's a cheap load, they can get rid of it quite easily and they can cut holes in it.
While the driver's questioned to see if he's involved, the officers need to count up the cigarettes.
us, was it?
You've got 160,000 in there, in the boxes, and
Yeah.
160,800 on the pallet.
So in total it's 320,800.
Just one. So times that by 6.
In all, nearly 2 million cigarettes.
Because you spend so much time looking in lorries and not finding stuff, because obviously, you know, not everyone's bringing things in. So it's good to find something. That's a good number as well. This is what we kind of want to get, really, because this is the big numbers.
In Gatwick, the baggage X-ray has picked up a suspiciously empty suitcase, and customs want to talk to the passenger. Officers have to tackle all kinds of passenger, and some are more cooperative than others.
Hi, sir. Hi, where have you come from today? Tripoli, yeah? Okay, just want to bring your bag over here first. Just here.
Officers ask simple questions to work out if further investigation is needed. But this man is making things difficult.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We'll try and make this as painless as possible.
Well, you need to be quick, yeah?
But I understand I've got to do my job, though, yeah? Just, first of all, whereabouts are you going to in the UK? Where's home for you here?
Well, I live here.
Yeah, yeah, where's home?
Check it in your system.
Right, if you tell me, then I won't have to go and check it.
There you go and check it.
No, if you just tell me where you go.
Give me a break, man. Just let me go.
Why have you been out there for a week?
I don't need to tell you.
Well, I'm a customs officer.
Yeah, but I don't need to tell you.
All right.
That's not your business.
Did you pack the bags yourself?
Yes, yeah.
And do you know what's inside your bags?
Listen, I have just opened it.
All right.
Can you check?
Well, if you can open your bag up and let's have a quick look inside again.
Officers were alerted by the empty bag, but are now very intrigued by the man's demeanour.
Just got an empty bag, yeah? All right. Okay, that's all right.
No.
I won't need to take everything out.
My son is just looking for me. Just get.
All right, sir. All right. Sir.
Get on my nerves.
All right, you leave me to this, all right? And I'll finish, and then you can be on your way, all right? Just let me do my job.
Finish and let me go, idiot.
How much money have you got there?
You can count it. It is your money.
No, it's your money, so,
Yes,
you tell me how much you got.
What does that have to do with you?
Sorry?
What does that have to do with you?
I just would like to know how much you've got there.
I don't need to tell you.
All right, fair enough.
Imbecile.
Unless the man starts to cooperate, this baggage search could take quite some time. Searchers' deep-sea sweep has so far been a washout.
Well, I'm heading back in for St Mary's now. Unfortunately, there wasn't very much out there today at all. We've searched quite a big area, but all we've found is lots and lots of dolphins.
But heading back in, the radar picks up a target.
This is the target here, this chap here.
The yacht appears to be coming from the Canaries, a frequent transit point for drugs from Africa and the Caribbean.
In this neck of the woods, but mostly where those vessels come from into this area, I'd suspect that if there's anything there, it would be drugs. And it's possible it'd be quite well hidden on board the yacht as well.
Officers boarding vessels at sea never know what they might face. The drugs trade is worth billions, and smugglers are willing to protect their goods with force. Smugglers also try hard not to stand out from the crowd, so even the most innocent-looking boat needs to be treated with suspicion. This boat seems harmless, but they can't afford to take anything for granted.
It's just a customs visit. One of my colleagues is just going to have a quick look around. How many people are there on board in total?
4 of us.
It's just the 4, is it? Nobody else down below? Just let my colleague have a quick look, come back to me and let me know. Okay. Do you have any drugs on board? Cigarettes, spirits, narcotics, or firearms, guns, knives, explosives? You've got knives for the kitchen, that's fine.
While the officers question the crew, the officer searching below deck signals the all clear.
No, he's happy. He's happy. He does that when he's happy.
Kill them.
They decide that the boat is clean. and the happy crew sail off into the sunset.
Yes, Ray, Billy. That's us just left the Dutch yacht.
But back in Gatwick, it's not such plain sailing.
I haven't finished yet. It's all right. Sir, let go.
This is my document. Let's have a look.
Yeah. So I need to have a look at that.
No.
All right.
This is my document. This is special.
That's special, is it?
Yeah.
All right, I need to have a quick look.
No. This is my document. That's special. Don't need to have a look at it.
Anything you have in your baggage, sir, is liable for me to have a look at. All right.
Don't need to read my stuff.
Stay there. Stay there.
The man's erratic behaviour is still causing concern.
All right, you're not being very helpful, sir, are you? Just want to leave that stuff there a second.
Some background checks reveal this isn't his first brush with the authorities.
Yes, CRO September 6, violence, drunk premises,
Fits in.
Yeah, NFA, no proper appearance or any charges.
All right. I'll go and get
To rule out any possibility the man's carrying drugs, they need to search him and swab his shoes.
I've spoken to an independent senior officer, all right, and they've authorised a rub-down search of your person.
What that mean?
Just like a pat-down search like that, okay? What we do is, we'll take your stuff with you and we'll go to there's a private room just out there, all right? You got it?
Out the back, the man continues to make things difficult.
Yeah, just place it on the bed for us. That's right, just place it on the bed and you can see it when it's done. I'd rather you just place it on the bed. Sir, please.
You can search.
I'd rather you just place it on the bed. You just do a swab of them. Thanks. He's got 2 mobile phones plus another SIM card. But again, nothing on the shoes, so there's no other reason to hold them. So, all right.
In the end, it was all a lot of fuss about nothing.
The smallest reason someone can just kick off, and he just threw his dummy out the pram and just chucked everything around, and that was about as much as he could do. You know in those first couple of seconds if it's going to be worth it or not. With him, and it's definitely worth taking further just to see what his story was really.
The driver of the chipboard truck was released on bail, while investigations into who's responsible for the 2 million cigarettes continue. Customs officers are at war with smugglers in the ports, airports, and at sea. Coming up, Sniffer dogs take on drug smugglers in Gatwick.
He looks for cocaine and heroin, so he's a Class A drugs dog.
A £200 million fraud spirals out of control.
It's too much of a good thing. They did get greedy.
And officers are on the hunt for illegal fags in Bristol.
Like possibly the one that just went through. And that looked like it did have quite a few in that one.
In Bristol, Anne and Erica are on the hunt for tobacco smugglers.
This is the Dalaman flight coming from Turkey, currently not in the EU, and the allowance for that is only 200 cigarettes.
Tobacco is now so highly taxed, the black market is booming, and nearly 1 in 5 cigarettes smoked in the UK is illegal, either counterfeit or smuggled in illegally, avoiding UK duty.
We'll be looking for anything over about 400 really at the moment. Like possibly the one that just went through. And that looked like it did have quite a few in that one, so.
Joe stops the passenger, whose attempt to dodge duty looks set to end in tears.
Right, basically we've got a female passenger who's come in from Turkey, and she's got 1,800 cigarettes. So what I'm going to do today is seize 1,600 cigarettes off her and give her back 200 as a statutory allowance. I'm not sure how she'd take it. I don't think she'd be too happy, but I don't think she'd be angry. I think she'd be more upset, which is harder usually. Don't mind a bit of anger, but it's just when they cry, which is a bit difficult. As you know, you are over the allowance. The allowance is 200, okay? On this occasion, I'm going to give you the 200 allowance back. That's all I can do. I can't do anything more than that, I'm afraid.
So I've just spent all that money on nothing.
Sorry?
I've just spent all that money on nothing.
Well, I'm afraid there's not really a lot more I can do.
Can I have 400 now?
Sorry? No, you can only have the statutory allowance. I'm afraid just 200. Gives me no pleasure to seize these cigarettes. It's just when it's this amount, I have no choice, I'm afraid. Okay?
Give you no pleasure to stop.
Okay.
And I just knew. I had a feeling when it pulled through nothing to declare, I thought, uh-oh, he's got me. I could just see the gleam in his eye.
I generally felt bad because, although I believe she knew what the allowances were, I still think for anyone it's still difficult to have money taken from you.
The passenger seems surprised, but it turns out Joe has caught a regular offender.
I've got away with it for about 9 years. Well, I shouldn't have said that because he's just behind me there.
It may be a small seizure, but replacing the cigarettes will cost the passenger hundreds of pounds. In Gatwick, the X-ray has picked up a bag with some suspicious contents. It's put back on the carousel while Calvin watches from a distance to identify the bag's owner. The passenger's girlfriend is walking ahead, a tactic often used by smugglers to avoid detection. Calvin follows the passenger through the channels, where the Class A drugs dog Rossi gives an indication on the same blue bag. The questions asked by the officers are seemingly obvious, but the answers given can be used to build up a prosecution if anything's found.
So is this all your baggage? Is all your baggage, sir? Yeah, and these are bags you took out with you? Yeah. Has anybody given you anything to bring into this country? Okay, just have a quick look in the blue bag then. Yeah, just the blue one, is it? We'll start with that one. We'll start with that one. Always start with the bottom one. You know what this is? Don't touch it. Okay, 5 booze to be charged.
The suitcase is full of sealed packages, which look like cannabis. The couple are arrested immediately.
Not meant to win questions, something which later rely in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you both understand? Do you understand? Is that yes? Do you understand? Yep? Okay. All right, let's take out the back now.
Cannabis is a Class C drug, but a quantity like this is worth thousands of pounds, so the investigation starts immediately. And Calvin needs to make sure the right people feel the full force of the law.
Between 10 and 15, probably. It probably might have 15 kilos. I mean, obviously we'll have to spike it first and test it to establish, do a field test to establish what the drug is. I'm making an assumption at the moment it's cannabis. Okay, and he'll explain your legal rights.
Whatever the packages contain, it's not looking good for this suspect.
Move your across, okay?
Off the coast of Cornwall, customs cutter Searcher is waiting for orders.
We just had some intelligence come in. Basically, they found a length of rope with an anchor. There's nothing to say it's what it is, what it's for, but the locals have never seen it before. They don't know what it's about. They've handed it into customs and said, we think there's something a bit iffy about that. This is a very old way of smuggling. It's actually putting things in the bottom and putting in a buoy and actually hanging it off the rope. It's been doing it here for hundreds of years with brandy in the old days, but it's happened before with drugs. Okay, full speed carry as we can.
Searcher's crew man the vessel 24 hours a day, ready to respond to any threat to the UK's borders. With over 5,000 drug seizures a year, the threat's very real, and smugglers use any tricks they can to slip through the net.
We're looking at that.
Just the green flag.
There's another 3 there. There's another one there. So the whole place is full. It costs millions to operate these high-powered vessels with their onboard speedboats, but they're at war with well-financed criminal gangs who can make millions from a single importation and are willing to protect their profits with force.
Still got light. We won't have it for much longer. So we'll have to be as quick as we possibly can here to try and get this job done.
Have you seen any pots that you don't recognise? Yeah.
Local fishermen are a good source of information, and there have been unusual pot markers sighted in the area.
So there's a dead body on the end of this. I'm not going to be happy.
In the failing light, the officers check as many markers as they can.
Chris?
It's a real one, isn't it?
Yeah. Look at it. There's one back here as well.
Yeah.
There's one more, Woody. This might be the golden nugget. A few little pots in there. What did you say? What do you reckon?
Going back in, I reckon.
Yeah.
Not all operations end with a seizure, and Kirsty hopes the intelligence gathered here may prove valuable in catching future smugglers.
So what we'll do, we'll actually pass that information back inland, and we'll pass that back to intelligence to see whether they can match it with any other activity that's been going on, and potentially keep an eye on that area just to make sure that we know where to find it and what the potential of it is.
In Gatwick, the custody suite is where suspected smugglers are welcomed back into the UK. It's a significant seizure, but Calvin's job now is to make sure everyone involved in the importation is identified and prosecuted.
What are you doing? Right, sit down, just sit down. What we'll do is we'll let the custody officer know you're here, okay? And then he'll come and see you and explain your legal rights. Okay? Sit there now. Okay, again.
Intercepted Green Channel, North Terminal.
North Terminal. And opened a blue suitcase, which he did. Unzipped it, found it to contain foam. Under the foam with tape back packages, which I believe to be controlled drugs.
11:38.
Cell number 2. Before you do, you can take your shoes off and leave them outside and your belt. I'll get you. You've got a blanket, maybe. You take your shoes off them. Just leave them outside here. Good. Do you want any drink of water or anything? Sure? Okay.
How about a cigarette?
You can't smoke here, I'm afraid. And the name on this bag relates to the female. That will tie her into this bag as well as him.
It's unclear who's involved, so the female passenger must also be kept in custody.
But it looks like there could be controlled drugs in one of the bags. Do you understand it? Sorry?
You know what drug it is?
No, I don't know yet. They will find out when they do, they'll let me know. Let you know. We just suspected that they are drugs at the moment.
Calvin suspects the packages contain cannabis. And the smell is unmistakable.
We check them all just to make sure they all are cannabis rather than we've had concealments before where some are being cannabis and some being cocaine.
They do all contain cannabis.
And the weight of the packages is 20.63 kilos.
It's a huge amount of drugs. Over 1,000 kilos of cocaine is seized by customs in the UK each year. And Gatwick is a prime point of entry. Sniffer dogs are used on the front line in this fight against Class A smugglers.
He looks for cocaine and heroin, so he's a Class A drugs dog. Trace smells or large amounts of that kind of scent, that's what he goes for.
This passenger was stopped by immigration officers and has now been brought into customs to be searched. Sniffer dog Rossi picks up a scent from one of his bags and gives the signal to the officers. But picking up a scent isn't enough. Officers must find the drugs before someone can be charged.
UK Customs, okay. Is that your bag, yeah? Who paid for your ticket?
Yeah, I paid it, but
Someone booked it for you, but you gave them the money, yeah? And how do you know this person? How do you know the person who booked it? It's a close friend.
He's nervous and his story sounds suspicious.
Just take a swab of your bag, things. It tells me whether or not you've been in contact with drugs at all, okay? Okay, if you just bear with me a sec again. Basically, you swab the bag, and we have two machines, and they tell you whether or not the bag's been contaminated with drugs. Like, it's given a reading now, showing that it's picked up particles of cocaine. Could indicate that, one, that they could be a user. At some point, there's been drugs within the bag. There's stuff there now, or stuff on their person. Obviously, you've got to go down every avenue and rule out every avenue. I've got a reading for cocaine from your bag and from your clothes and from your laptop bag. Okay, can I just ask, do you use at all? Huh? Do you use cocaine at all? Have you used cocaine in Trinidad? No, okay.
Finding nothing in the bag, Alex requests authority for a body search.
Can I have a request for an SOP, please? That's been authorised, that's fine. I give him my reasons, gave him 4 reasons. Why? Nervous demur, eyeing track reading, dog indication, and he's got very little luggage for 2 weeks stay. What I'm going to do now is take him into the search room and conduct a search. Okay, I'm not going to touch any skin, okay? Got no need to, obviously I can see. If I can just ask you to place your arms out for me, put your palms up into the air, okay? Please don't make any sudden movement. I'm going to do one side at a time. I will be going into your groin at some point, okay? But I will make you aware when I do that. Okay, again, I'm going into your groin. Okay, if you want to take a seat for me, please.
But smugglers don't only carry drugs on their bodies.
We swab the inside of the shoes because obviously you have swallowers who come into the UK with packages inside them. Packages give out like sweat and they go into your pores and you sweat through the bottom of your feet. So it can give a reading to say that there's possibly packages inside. So it's another area that we test.
It's another frustrating result for Alex, but this man's troubles are far from over.
Okay, if you'd just like to wait by the bench for me. Back to immigration now, yeah, and then they'll make a decision whether they land him from there, but from our side, we're happy. So, if you got disappointed on every one person you stopped, you'd be extremely disappointed and you'd probably lose the enthusiasm to keep looking. So you just get back out there and start again. Stop another passenger.
Customs officers in Dover have an entirely different threat to deal with. Thousands of trucks a day pass through the freight lanes, and the detection teams work round the clock to try and spot which ones may have something to hide.
One just gone over the top. There it is. I've never seen an unmarked one.
The intelligence hub selects most targets, but it's experience which has alerted Richard to this truck, and he decides it's worth searching.
Tyres in a fridge. I've never seen an unmarked fridge on an Omega Pilsner unit before. Never. Especially with tyres in.
Smugglers often use awkward loads like tyres as cover, and so Customs have developed X-ray machines big enough to scan an entire truck.
So we might end up scanning it. That's a brand spanking new fridge, and that's not a refrigerated load. A little bit odd.
The trucks are under pressure to deliver, so this Polish driver isn't happy to learn his truck will have to be scanned. If it finds anything suspicious, it may have to be offloaded, which the driver's company will have to pay for.
They get a little bit aggy about it. They don't like the fact we do that.
The X-ray picks up an anomaly. There looks like there may be a secret compartment hidden in the floor. Richard needs to find out what it is, but he doesn't want to cost the driver money if he can avoid it.
No, I think it's in the floor.
Is it the floor? Yeah.
But what is it?
I think it's ribs.
I think we've got to make a decision as to whether this is worth offloading or not.
The team are all highly trained mechanics, so Richard decides to try to access the suspicious area from underneath. Customs officers also take on gangs involved in carousel fraud, which steal money from the VAT system. It works like this. Criminals set up fake companies to import high-value goods VAT-free. The goods get exported back out to fake companies in Europe, at which point VAT is reclaimed. These shipments get stamped at the border, but then simply turn round and come back into the UK. The same goods go in and out of the country again and again. In 2001, a man by the name of Ray Cox was at the centre of a carousel fraud so massive, it would take the next 6 years to bring him to justice.
By looking at him and financial profiling of Ray Cox, we basically determined that in a space of 3 years he'd gone from being a pallet repairer to a multi-millionaire. He'd become a major thorn in the side of attacking the UK's VAT system, and we embarked on what became an 8-month-long surveillance operation against Raymond Cox to identify those he was associating with, those he was trading with. We effectively identified a total of 7 people. They were just average people, so they weren't particularly well-educated people, and certainly not with a business background.
Day after day, the surveillance team looked on as the fraud increased. Cox and his 6 accomplices gradually lost control. The goods were going round and round on the carousel so fast, they forgot who was selling what to who.
They became blasé, and as often you see within fraudulent activities, they did get greedy. It's too much of a good thing.
In May 2002, it culminated in a meeting at the Trafford Centre in Manchester at a restaurant called Tiggy's about keeping the fraud on track. And of course, they were unaware that they were under surveillance at the time.
The surveillance team tracked all the suspects to the meeting and captured it all on film.
Whereupon we were all able to get inside, in effect get into the CCTV control room for the Trafford Centre, zoom in and record the whole meeting, a surveillance officer's dream.
With the gang making around £10 million a week from the fraud, tensions were clearly running high.
The meeting at the Trafford Centre was the first time that they'd actually all been filmed together. Come the end of the meeting, when the paperwork appeared to be sorted out, they all got up and it was very jovial, much backslapping, hugging, as if there were no problems.
But in fact, their problems were about to get a lot worse. The officers had decided enough was enough.
On the morning of the 8th of July 2002, the carousel, the conspiracy was taken out.
The 217 fake companies had stolen over £180 million, and it took 4 years to sift through the mountains of paperwork. The 9-month trial found 6 of the 7 guilty as charged, who all received at least 5 years in prison. Seen as the organiser, Cox received the heaviest sentence.
Raymond Cox, who was the principal, received a 12.5-year prison sentence. It was a very rewarding result for the effort that had been put in, and the signal to the criminal fraternity as a whole that we are going to take these frauds seriously, and you do get similar sentences to what you can get in major drug cases.
Back in Dover, however, a lengthy search has found nothing.
I think you just got to use a bit of common sense, haven't you? So at the end of the day, are we going to charge him 150 quid to offload it and find nothing, or do we just make a judgment?
Pierwszy raz na Anglii, samochód jest i pewnie dlatego kontrol. Skoro muszą, to muszą.
Richard decides the truck doesn't need to be offloaded, and the happy driver can carry on and deliver his load. But on the bay next door, a white van has been pulled, and this time it's a hit. The van's full of cigarettes destined for the UK's black market, but not anymore. The drivers have been arrested and taken into custody.
They stopped the vehicle and questioned them, and whilst they questioned the driver, they went in the load and examined the load, and on opening a couple of boxes, one of the pallets, detected large quantities of cigarettes.
It's a serious crime, but their efforts to avoid detection aren't quite so easy to take seriously.
Obviously, it's failed. Rather flimsy design in a vain hope that we wouldn't detect these, but it's kind of laughable. But aluminium trays, I don't know whether they were hoping our X-ray eyes wouldn't go through them, or it just seems, you know, at the end of the day, it's a cardboard box with cigarettes in it, and we were going to find them. So.
In just one van load, the officers have seized over 1 million illegal cigarettes. The cannabis found in Gatwick was valued at £55,000. The man has since pleaded guilty. The female passenger pleaded not guilty and will stand trial soon. Customs officers are always on high alert for bootleggers using cheap flights to bring in tobacco to sell illegally on the UK's booming black market. In Bristol, officers have received intelligence that a known bootlegger is returning from Malaga in a group of 4. The main target had over 26 kilos of tobacco seized only 2 weeks ago. Will he be mad enough to try again?
Oh, there we go. Tobacco. Lots of it.
The X-ray has found 4 bags full of tobacco. Now it's up to Anne and the team to stop and question the passengers and prove that the tobacco is not for their own personal use. Bootleggers come in all shapes and sizes. This time it's a retired couple who pick up 3 of the 4 suspect bags and then split from the group. They almost make it through the channels, but Anne closes in.
Is it only the 2 of you? Yeah.
The 3 holdalls are stacked with tobacco. The main target has slipped through empty-handed, but the final passenger in the group isn't so lucky. Her bag contains 30 kilos of tobacco, 10 times the guidelines. The couple have another 57 kilos. Altogether, an amount like this is a criminal matter. No wonder they're pretending not to know each other.
Okay, I'm just going to do a couple of checks on your passport a minute.
They're saying they're travelling just together, don't they?
Yeah.
Get them to say that again. She's saying she's travelling on her own. They're in a group. They're together.
Yes.
They've got 57 kilos between them.
Isn't that arrestable?
Could be. Only if we can tie them in together.
Tying the passengers to each other proves a little easier than Anne and Joe expected.
Are you together, or do you know each other?
Well, we've come together.
Are you travelling together? You're travelling together, okay. They've all just admitted that they're travelling together because they were talking to each other.
Did they say that initially when you stopped?
No, he lied.
Travelling by yourself.
Yeah. So obviously I don't believe that this sort of amount can be for your own personal use.
Believe that?
The sheer amount that you've brought in.
I've never been in trouble with the police, never been in trouble with the customs. We smoke tobacco, and that is for our use.
They have enough tobacco to last 14 years, but it was split between 3 passengers, so it won't be treated as criminal. But they will now be interviewed to decide the fate of the tobacco.
I do not believe for 1 minute that that is for their own personal use. Even if they were smoking, 100 cigarettes a day.
He seems pretty adamant that he's done nothing wrong, and
that's right.
That's the most I've seen come through the airport in the last couple of years, I must say.
At this point, most bootleggers simply admit defeat and abandon their goods. But this passenger decides he won't go down without a fight. In Gatwick, sniffer dog Rossi and his handler Claire are targeting another Spanish flight, this time for Class A drugs. Each dog has only one handler, and their close bond means that Claire knows when Rossi picks up even a hint of drugs.
Do you want to stand still for a second, please?
The passenger is intercepted and seems very nervous, but Andy's bag search finds nothing.
What's that? Just a charm. Yeah.
Not convinced, Andy swabs the bag for drugs and picks up a massive hit for cocaine.
Quick chat with him. He's very, very nervous. And taking an iron track off there, got a hit of 4, so I'm going to get an SOP in him, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's got something on him.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Okay.
It seems Rossi and Claire were right. So Andy confronts the passenger with the evidence.
It's a drugs dog. I've spoken to you. You seem very nervous, okay? I've taken a swab, as I explained to you, from your baggage, and I've got a very high hit for traces of cocaine. So what I want to do is search you to make sure you have nothing on you.
No problem, sir.
Okay, you
No
understand
problem,
that?
sir. Yes, yes, no
Okay.
problem.
Do you have
Don't
any
worry.
objections to that?
Pardon,
You have
sir?
any objection? Any problem with that?
No, you
okay,
can check
good.
me everything that you want.
Okay. Would you like to come this way?
The passenger is playing innocent, but the search of person will prove if he's telling the truth. Back in Bristol, Ant's preparing for a fight with the passengers caught with 87 kilos of tobacco. They have enough tobacco to last a heavily addicted smoker 14 years, but neither have yet asked for a cigarette.
You said that I took an hour to write up my notebook.
No, you left us outside waiting for
Yeah, you actually said that I took an hour to write up my notebook. That were yours.
I said, my specific words were, you left us sitting out there for an hour in the freezing cold.
Well,
I
you
did
went
not
to write
say, but don't, let's get it straight.
Okay, well,
Little
I'll tell you
girl,
what.
if you're
no,
going to write...
don't try and intimidate me.
You are intimidating me.
No,
Little
not
girl,
at all.
you write
I've
it
just been
properly.
straight with you.
Do your job properly, or don't do it at all. Bring somebody else
Look,
in.
if
and
you're
do what
going to
they're
take
doing.
this attitude,
Yes.
I'm not going to interview you.
Don't
I'll
then.
invite you back at a different date when you've calmed
You
down.
come to my house and interview me. if you
No,
invite me
that
back.
doesn't happen.
Well, you
Sorry.
find somebody else then.
Until you're prepared to speak to me in a
Well,
proper
don't
manner,
miss
I
my
won't to
house.
deal with you.
What planet are you on, for goodness sake? You people, get to the dock, stop the people coming in. Do your job.
Okay.
You know, don't do the little end. You're like policemen who pick people up for parking. Catch the criminals. We're not criminals.
Well, actually, it's a very large quantity of cigarettes.
No, it's tobacco. You want to get that right. But it is not a large quantity
It
for
is a
somebody
large
that smokes
quantity.
all the time.
It is
Two
a-
people. Really? You smoke, do you?
It's a large quantity.
Do you smoke, do you?
It's irrelevant
Do you,
what I
oh, it is, because you're telling me it's a large quantity. I'm saying, do you smoke?
No,
you're
I
not
don't.
qualified to judge, are you?
I am, because
No,
I'm
you're not.
present.
Bring somebody in that's qualified to judge. You don't smoke, you don't know how much tobacco goes in a rollie, do you?
Yes.
You haven't got a clue.
Well, look.
Right, so anyway, go away, bring the little girl back with what I've just said.
No, you don't speak to us like that.
Why not? This is disgraceful, and it will not end here, I can tell you. We are not criminals. And you are treating us like criminals.
Picking out the criminals amongst the innocent passengers is a skill that comes only from experience. And customs officers in Gatwick have seen it all when it comes to the risks smugglers will take to make money from drugs. One smuggler that stands out from all the rest is Paul Brady.
Well, when I stopped Mr. Brady in the Green Channel, I examined his baggage and found really nothing of customs interest at all. But there was something about him that I wasn't satisfied with. And generally, if somebody hasn't got anything in their baggage of customs interest, then they may have smuggled it elsewhere. So Mr. Brady was then taken to a private room and he was searched.
The body search found nothing, so suspicions now centred on what Brady might have hidden inside his body.
A sample of urine was taken from him and tested on our machine at Gatwick, and the result indicated the presence of cocaine inside of his body. And I then arrested him on suspicion of importing a controlled drug into the UK, concealed internally.
Officers wanted to X-ray Brady to prove he'd swallowed packages of cocaine, but he refused. Instead, he was detained in a Gatwick custody cell while officers waited for the evidence to emerge. Brady had begun a waiting game that would go down in customs history.
He was refusing to eat any food. He refused to drink any drinks that we provided to him unless it was a can of Coke which he could open himself, and that's all he would do. And of course this went on and on.
Without food, it soon became a week without him going to the toilet. But officers had Brady under 24-hour surveillance to ensure none of the vital evidence was missed.
We had to have grounds to keep him in our custody when we had to go in front of the magistrate every 7 days. One of the things we did was to iron scan his suit, and this indicated whether we still may have the cocaine level was actually going up, which it was.
After 3 weeks, and with drugs seeping into his system, they began to fear for Brady's life, but he refused to give in.
It would only take a very small amount to actually kill the person outright, so it's a dangerous thing to do anyway.
After a staggering 48 days of defiance, it was the smell of the custody officer's lunch which finally forced Brady to crack.
After 48 days, I was actually off shift and I was at home, and I had a call from my main manager at Gatwick, who telephoned me to said yes, he's produced. So it was quite an emotional time, and I still feel quite emotional talking about it now. So it was sort of relief.
Consuming his first meal for 7 weeks, the officers wouldn't have to wait long to get their hands on the evidence.
And it just gave in completely, so he must have been absolutely starving, but obviously the body couldn't take it. And I had to sit with him along with my colleagues to recover the remaining packages from his body.
The stubbornness of Brady was beaten only by the determination of the officers at Gatwick.
I mean, give him his due, he gave it a good try, didn't he? And he pleaded the only thing he could do best, which was to plead guilty at Croydon Crown Court, where the judge gave him the sentence of 5 years. And that's something I'm proud of, you know, so it was good.
In Gatwick, Andy's search of person has identified the cause of the positive cocaine hit. The man has confessed to using cocaine whilst in Spain.
So you say the reason for the high reading that we got here was because you had a couple of lines of coke yesterday?
Oh, okay.
Yeah? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite high. You use it quite regularly?
No, not very much, actually.
Okay.
Not very much.
Having confessed to using cocaine abroad, the man's now trying to avoid trouble.
Came up with a very high reading for cocaine. When I put that to him, just inside the room there, why that would be, he said, well, he had a couple of lines of coke yesterday with his girlfriend, which would do the trick. So stripped him off, nothing there at all, and he gradually calmed down once he realised that that was what we were going to do. So
no guilt, yeah?
Thank you. Welcome. Bye.
The high reading was from personal use, so a disappointed Andy has to let him go.
So nothing today, maybe next time.
Customs ship Searcher has tracked a yacht sailing towards the southwest coast of England. Within the 12-mile limit, any vessel is a potential smuggler, and customs officers have the power to board and search.
This is the 6 miles. You can see that the target vessel that we're interested in is just off the 6-mile limit, so he's well within the 12.
What's using the plate?
The cutter launches the high-speed rib team from the stern, giving the yacht no time to hide any goods on board or jettison any drugs into the sea. The boarding team don't need the skipper's permission, but he seems unaware of their powers.
Customs, sir, we're just going to pop on board for a second.
Come on board when I get back to port.
When we get back to port, we've actually got to come on board now, sir.
Pardon?
We're coming on board now, sir. How long have you been over in the Scillies?
2 days.
2 days.
I can hear the rib crew saying they're going to take some swabs on board the vessel, some iron track swabs, and then they're going to bring them back to the cutter, and we can test to see if there's any traces of narcotics or explosives on the yacht.
To avoid upsetting innocent sailors as much as possible, the drug swabs quickly identify any wrongdoing. The man's initial attitude may be a good sign of a smuggler, but the swabs will be the ultimate test.
If he's got anything on his hands, that will have moved onto the tiller. Nothing there. The swabs are negative, and there's no trace of any drugs on that particular boat. All negative. Nice, clean yacht.
Fair dues. Let's get the boys back in then.
Quickly exonerating the innocent is as important as arresting the guilty, and this sailor is free to continue his journey. And after the 12-hour shift, the cutter Searcher returns to port. Meanwhile, in Gatwick, police have arrested a man as he stepped off a flight from the Caribbean. His problems get worse when the officers bring him through customs.
He's dressed very smartly. Why is he wearing a suit? Was he sitting in economy, or was he flying Virgin upper class? Why did he wear a suit? No one else in the flight's wearing a suit.
But, we'll find out. We'll ask him a few questions. Well, what's happened is that the police had warrants, outstanding warrants for this man. And as soon as he came off the plane, they arrested him at that stage. And they've brought him up here. And as the flight is one which has brought previous jobs to us, shall we say, they asked us if we wanted to have a look through his luggage. And the obvious thing is that, given the risk of drugs coming in from there, we said yes. So we've gone through the luggage, and what we want to do now is just to make sure he's got no drugs on his person.
Many smugglers try hard to look innocent, and Chris asks permission to do a body search.
He's arrived on a flight from Montego Bay. Yeah. And as you can see, he's probably the most smartly dressed guy on the flight, dressed in a suit, which is ostensibly a holiday destination. It seems as though he's got various layers on as well. Yeah. So I just want to rub him down, make sure there's nothing under all those layers.
That's fine, Chris. Yeah, 8:15.
Thank you.
Cheers. Okay, if you come this way.
With us as well. Stay with him. Right, if you can follow us.
Okay.
Catching drug smugglers is a daily occurrence at Gatwick, and officers find packages in a variety of places. The strip search is as uninvasive as possible, but it's an uncomfortable experience, especially when Jeff discovers the initial reason for the man's arrest.
He's actually wanted for a driving offence, but you know, we have to make sure 100% certain. So we did a quick search and nothing was found, so we've handed him back to the police. He's been rearrested and taken back down to the station.
This man isn't a smuggler and leaves cooperatively with the police. Meanwhile, in Bristol, 3 passengers have been caught with 87 kilos of tobacco, but they're not going quietly.
You have treated us really badly, really badly, like we've done something wrong.
Until you're prepared to speak to me in a proper manner, I won't deal with you.
It's the biggest haul the team have seen in years, but the man is adamant it's not being brought in to sell on the black market. Anne's decided to interview the man to see if he's telling the truth. If not, the £11,000 worth of tobacco will all be seized and destroyed.
How much do you smoke a week on average?
So, 2-3 packs a day, so...
2 or 3 50-gram packs?
Yeah, generally 2.
Okay. How many cigarettes do you tend to make from one 50-gram pouch of tobacco? What could you get to?
30.
Okay. At one 50-gram pouch, on a good day, he gets 20 out of it. Okay, sorry. He would expect those goods to last him 9 to 10 months.
All right, give him the benefit of the doubt. 30 kilos are for him.
Yeah.
That's 600 pouches, and he reckons 10 months.
Yeah, definitely not longer than a year. Because he bought the same amount last year. And
That means he's going to be smoking 8.5 pouches a week. Totally and utterly ridiculous.
Oh, he says he smokes 2 pouches a day. 2 to 3 pouches a day.
A day?
The only thing I haven't asked yet is about rolling. Because are we allowed to ask that? Are we?
What do you mean? Getting to roll with what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to roll one of these for me.
Really? I'm
Yeah.
not playing any silly games.
Well, you've said that you can roll.
Look, I've been very good. I've played the game.
Yeah,
You've
but
asked
I'm not
all the
asking.
questions. You've asked, and if you really think at 65 years old I haven't smoked all my life, I'm now going to play a silly game.
I'm asking you to roll one cigarette.
No way. I'm not being silly. No way. That's insulting.
The 2 other passengers have had their goods seized. And now the moment of truth. Anne has to decide if the angry passenger gets to keep his tobacco, and he's not going to be happy.
I've looked over what has been said today, and you failed to satisfy me that the tobacco is for your own use for the following reasons. I'll give you the reasons. 1, the excessive quantity is actually 9 times over the guideline of what you are supposed to bring in from an...
Not what I'm supposed to smoke, yeah, fine. When you say guideline...
Yeah, there is a guideline of 3,000...
It's a guideline,
Yeah, but it's still 9... I'm giving you my... I'm not going to argue about it. I'm giving you my reasons. Consumption, 3 pouches a day is grossly excessive.
All right, yeah, OK, go on. Right, you're going to tell me what to
smoke now. You've got no smoking paraphernalia at all.
That's correct.
You refuse to roll a cigarette for no reason.
Correct. Not for no reason. I made it clear
It's not
to you
credible.
that I'm not going to demonstrate.
OK, fine, you refuse to...
drink a cup of tea
I didn't ask you to
a bottle of wine.
drink
No,
a
I'm
cup of
telling
tea.
you that. You asked me to do something just as benign.
can you just listen, please?
Just sign it, please, and we can get to the court.
Right. It's not credible to import this quantity when travelling again in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Inconsistencies in your account. You actually said...
Inconsistencies in my account?
Just let me finish,
yeah, go
right?
On, let's hear it.
You actually said that on the same flight, your son and a female friend of his travelled, whereas your wife told Mr. Hanlon that nobody else that you knew travelled. That is the point. That is the point.
If we were travelling on
We're not going to...
When you were being questioned, did they ask you if you're travelling on our own? Yeah, well, we are.
Well, you're not because you know that.
Well, no, I knew another lady I was sitting beside.
That Mrs. didn't know that her own son was also on the flight?
What I'm saying to you is, we are travelling on our own. That's what my wife said. Anyway, get to it.
It's also not credible to get only 20, or 30, or even 40 cigarettes from a 50-gram pouch of tobacco.
Right then.
Generally, you would get at least 80 to 100 cigarettes out of...
Not if you roll them in a bag.
What, so are you suggesting that you roll them...
I'm not suggesting anything. Let's go to court and have my solicitor run rings around you.
If you could sign. Look, you need to sign the date as well.
Sign the date. You put the date. You don't sign
Look, I'm
the
not
date.
going to argue with you about sign.
I'm just trying to get you to behave correctly.
I don't think I need you to teach me how to do that.
Somebody needs to teach you.
I could say the same about you.
Anne's ordeal is finally over.
He was trying to intimidate me, I think perhaps because he thought I was a girl, like he was calling me little girl and stuff and waving his finger in my face. But that doesn't intimidate me. He was just nitpicking at things, really, because he knew that he hadn't got a leg to stand on.
The passengers walk away empty-handed, having lost 87 kilos, which will now all be destroyed. The angry man in Bristol made an official complaint about his treatment and is still planning to fight the seizure in court. Coming up, a bag gives a massive hit for cocaine in Bristol.
Ooh. Pretty high.
Surveillance officers eavesdrop on a cannabis gang.
And he was actually arrested in Belgium with 63 kilos of cannabis in a light aircraft.
And suspects in Gatwick who definitely aren't dog lovers.
And one was suspected of involvement in a previous drugs importation, surgically inserting drugs into dogs in a Labrador.
In Dover, officers have pulled a truck full of resin granules, perfect for concealing large quantities of drugs or cigarettes deep in the centre of the load, where even the powerful customs X-ray machine can't see clearly.
Well, it'd been scanned and we weren't sure whether there was anything there or not. We've been in and had a look, and it is because it's the granules are so tightly packed, it's very dense, it's difficult for any sort of X-ray equipment to break it down.
The officer spots that the bags in the centre of the load have different packaging, and there's only one way to find out what's inside.
Basically, it looks like the two rear pallets are clean. They've just got the granules in because you can see around the edges they've got the green writing on, whereas when you get those out of the way, the inner stack, the bottom three sacks are plain brown. There's no writing around the outside, so I'm 99.99% certain they've got cigarettes in them. So all we're going to do is just cut open those. The only thing is the granules they've packed around it are just going to go everywhere, so we have to tidy those up later. Presto, cigarettes.
It's a sophisticated attempt to smuggle hundreds of thousands of fags into the UK, but thanks to this team's experience, it's failed.
Makes it worthwhile, especially when you've got to go to a bit of effort to find it. And it looks like it's going to be exactly the same all the way down to the single pallets at the front, possibly. It goes as far as there.
These ones dirty?
Those ones are dirty, those ones are clean. 17, by 6 by 3,000. The front two, it looks like I've only got 3 bags, 3 dirty bags in each. So it's the equivalent of 17 dirty pallets.
So it's 304,000.
There you go. 306,000.
Which means the smugglers have laboriously stashed over 15,000 individual packs.
It's not actually that unusual. A lot of the Eastern Europeans, for some reason, quite often they'll be broken down into the packs of 20, but then sellotaped into carton sizes by breaking them down into smaller packages. Obviously, they can make it harder to find. It's always easier to find larger amounts than it is to find smaller amounts.
In Gatwick, officers are on the lookout for 2 passengers who've mysteriously split up at passport control.
But he came on his own, not with the other guys.
Right, okay.
One with previous charges of hardcore drug smuggling.
And one was suspected to be involved in a previous drugs importation. Actually putting drugs, surgically inserting drugs into dogs, a Labrador, and importing the Labrador from Colombia. Although he wasn't found guilty of that offence, so clearly not a dog lover. What's interesting is the two they don't appear to have come through together.
The 2 men tried to disappear in the crowd, but the officers have them in their sights.
Hello, sir. Where have you come from today? Antigua. Antigua. I'd like to come over very quickly.
Both men are questioned to see if their stories match up.
And what was the reason for your trip?
Yeah. Well, to visit my mum.
Okay, and how long were you out there for?
2 weeks.
Well, lovely.
You travelling on your own today?
Pardon?
You travelling on your own today?
Yeah, well, a couple of us, but the rest of them is in the line.
Oh, right, sir.
Did you travel on your own today, sir? Sorry?
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
With their known connections with drug smuggling, their contradictory answers warrant further investigation.
Around the edge here, some sort of thickness there, but it seemed quite heavy. So what I'm going to do is just pierce it very quickly and see if anything comes out. No, it's okay.
The drug swab gives a small hit for cocaine, and the 2 officers compare their findings.
He told me he's travelling with him.
My chap said he was on his own.
Right, the guy I've got said there were 10 of them over in Antigua. They didn't all go out together, they went out in various groups. Met in Antigua, 10 of them. And today, 3 of them have travelled back. Him, and he pointed to the guy you're searching to say that they are travelling together. So.
All right then, right, that's interesting. When I first stopped you at the start, as I was just explaining who I was and where you'd come from, and I asked if you'd travelled on your own. Now, my colleague just happened to be chatting out to another chap over there, and when we just happened to be out there at the same time, he said that actually this chap said he'd travelled with you?
Yeah, we all together were moving on our own, but yeah.
So when you said you'd travelled on your own...
I think even if I'm travelling with probably a woman or kids or something like that.
Right, okay, so, but you did... Yeah, okay. But was it just the 2 of you?
No, there's another one as well.
Okay. Thank you.
That's fair enough.
I'm actually, apart from, I'm nicking a bottle of honey, but apart from that, I'm completely happy.
You've got nothing at all, the guy I've got. He's not quite relaxed, actually.
Yeah, so are you happy?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Finding nothing to justify a body search,
Thank you for your patience.
the 2 passengers are free to go.
There's your passport. Have a safe journey home. Cheers. He seemed an all right guy. I mean, not nervous at all. More than willing for me to do the search. And because of his cooperation, we've got it done a bit quicker, actually. So you want to catch people with drugs, but at the end of the day, you don't want to catch innocent people. So there it goes.
The war against drug gangs is also fought using undercover surveillance officers. In 2005, officers listening in on one smuggling plot picked up clues that another bigger importation was being hatched by 3 men.
It was carried out over a period of about 6 months. Some fairly intensive surveillance on a number of people, which included Simon Fisher, Thomas Little, Paul Phipps.
Undercover customs officers put the suspects under continuous surveillance. The officers began hearing hints of what sounded like a major drug smuggling plot.
Certain phrases were picked up by the officers while they were out on surveillance, and one of those was brave to do it, and the other was run. Run is a common term in smuggling parlance, one that we would expect to hear. Brave to do it really speaks for itself.
The officers were waiting for any hint of the next stage of the plot. The suspect's intentions became clearer when they were followed to a meeting with a pilot.
You saw the chap who turned out to be a pilot, Leith, make a gesture with his hand. It seemed very much like a plane flying in, coming down low, and then taken up again. And this started to give us an idea of what was being discussed. Part of the surveillance took place in Etchin Hill a little while later, and on the seat of William Leith's car there was a map of the surrounding area, and Simon Fisher, Paul Phipps and William Leith went out looking over the fields. What we believe now was a sighting to try and find a suitable venue to drop the drugs off from the plane.
But so far, all Customs had was talk. They needed more concrete proof of what the gang were planning. The already intensive surveillance was about to step up a gear.
Surveillance was carried out by aeroplane from Bournemouth Airport, and in fact what we had was an officer in a plane shadowing the light aircraft that the smuggling gang had hired.
The plane drops down to what we think is about 100 foot off the ground, and then pulls up sharply and heads away again. And that was what we believe was a dummy run for their intended drugs drop.
When you're conducting these operations, there's always the right time to actually knock something, to actually take it further. And the team here made a decision that they actually had enough material.
But the officers in the UK were beaten to it when the pilot Leith was caught red-handed with the drugs before he'd even left the ground.
And he was actually arrested in Belgium with 63 kilos of cannabis in a light aircraft, which really confirmed our suspicions that they were intending to bring in drugs in a private aircraft.
The smugglers' plan had collapsed, and worse still, they were about to be arrested. Phipps and Little were taken out together, caught carrying a hold-all and a box containing £400,000 in cash. Fisher tried to hide but was tracked using his mobile phone and arrested in a pub. They were all found guilty at trial. Little was given community service, but as the organisers, Fisher received 7 years and Phipps 5 years. It all came as a big surprise to the gang who were oblivious to the surveillance operation that snared them.
I was surprised that they were surprised. Certainly when we saw the defendants in court and they were watching the evidence that we'd collated, yeah, I would definitely say that they were surprised. I think testament to the quality of the surveillance officers that we have.
In Bristol, a plane from Banjul has just touched down. Officers are on the ground hoping to catch any drug smugglers, notorious on this flight.
Banjul is a flight for us, really, which is produced for cocaine as well as a couple of cannabis seizures have been taken from it. Anything which doesn't look familiar or looks out of the ordinary, it could be anything, just pull it off and pull over the passengers and see what's in the bags with.
The X-ray can identify drugs, tobacco and foodstuffs. But to find out exactly which, passengers need to be searched.
Shows the brown shows it was organic. It's, yeah. Another one there. We've got 3 bags so far.
The X-ray has identified 3 suspicious bags. But while the team wait to apprehend the passengers, a man with a small bag and a new suit tries to make a quick exit.
Just stopped the gentleman. He's claimed he's been out there trying to do some business for a couple of weeks. Looks like he's got a false bottom on his suitcase. That was it.
The passenger's bag has been glued. Inside is an unusual object that Russ suspects may have been put there deliberately.
I mean, it might just be some sort of strengthener, but I think it's possible it's a strengthener. It's that there. Got about 3 or 4 compartments, this suitcase. Between the linings, it just looked like there was a bit tacky and a bit of glue along one little rim. It's quite well done. It looked intact for most of it, but it's just a little layer of glue. I've sort of pulled it back and opened it up in the middle, and there's a package within that I'm suspecting there's probably other packages within the other bits as well, but I can't see what's in it at the moment. It's just a plastic package, but it's clearly something suspicious, so we need to just arrest him and take it further from there.
Have you scanned it?
The passenger is arrested, while Russ tries to determine what's in the suspicious bag.
Just test it first and see what we get around there.
What, around? Do you want me to actually...
In fact, it's glued as well.
There?
What do you think it is, Rex?
Could be anything.
Just something on there, right, okay. Oh, pretty high.
The package within the bag is come up with quite a high positive trace for cocaine. It's possible there might be some other packages within that bag, but I'm going to need to put in a call to our investigation team to see what they want to do with it from this point.
Targeting the flight from Banjul has paid off, which is more than can be said for this man's attempt to smuggle cocaine, and his ordeal is far from over. In Cornwall, customs ship's searcher is on patrol. Skipper Colin gets a call about a Polish ship heading into Falmouth with a container of explosives being returned from North Africa.
How much are we talking about here? A 20-foot container? Right, yeah, okay, we'll definitely be there, mate. No
It's a
problem.
race to beat the vessel into port, just in case there are any smugglers amongst the crew.
Yeah, we want to be there when it arrives, because that's sort of they're either going to offload stuff very quickly and get it off as soon as they arrive, probably to shore crews or shore parties, or the other way of doing it is to take stuff off just before they leave, so they keep it in deep stowage, deep hidden concealment, and then just bring it out at the last minute and get it ashore then. But the quick snatch and throw it over the side as soon as they arrive is quite a favourite one still. So if there is anything on there, we want to be there waiting for it.
The Polish ship arrives in Falmouth to be greeted by customs officers who want to know why the explosives, originally destined for Libya, are now being discharged in the UK.
And there it is. It's our...
The suspiciously poor paperwork shows no name, but it turns out to be a legitimate cargo, which was rejected in Egypt and is being returned to Holland over land.
What my team are going to do, they're going to have a quick look around the boat, a quick search.
The mystery of the container has been solved, but the officers also want to rummage the entire ship for illegal cigarettes.
The age of it, there's probably going to be a few hidey holes in it as well, by the looks of it, that have been used before, so there's a fair chance that they might have stockpiled a few cigarettes for usage in their time in UK waters, so hopefully we'll find those.
Back in Bristol, the examination of the man with a bag of cocaine continues. The bag is X-rayed, and it looks like there's more than they thought.
It's good when all this stuff we have works.
That could be 3 kilos or more.
Good job, Russ. But I did say I wanted that one.
It's a serious haul of a Class A drug. And before Russ can transport the arrested man into custody, he'll have to be strip-searched.
The only behavioural indicator that I spotted was him fiddling around in his pockets a lot. He is nervous. Yeah.
You go from top to bottom? From bottom to top?
I normally get to do the bottom first.
Unconscious, we have been authorised to conduct a strip search of you because of what you're carrying in your briefcase.
Not all smugglers act the same, but this man appears unconcerned by the seriousness of the crime.
Okay, if you can remove your jacket and your belt to start with, please. I was just saying, actually, it's amazing how cool he is. To get what he could be possibly getting at the end of this, it's amazing how he's so cool. I mean, he hasn't even raised his voice or anything. He looks really cool. It's amazing, to be honest. You don't know, really. You don't know what they're feeling inside. If you was to put your hand by his chest, it may be a different story. But from the outside, he looks as cool as a cucumber.
The officers also search the rest of his bags and find 2 passports in other names.
Oh my God, that's got another one.
Got another passport.
Yes.
The gentleman's in a significant amount of trouble at the moment, yeah. And he'll be handcuffed, put in a car and taken to Weston-super-Mare police station. He's just sitting there very compliantly at the moment. Hopefully it'll stay that way when we take him to the police station.
It's a great result for the officers, with over 3 kilos of cocaine off the streets and one more smuggler heading for some serious time behind bars. Customs officers are still searching the Polish vessel for any cigarettes being smuggled into the UK to be sold on the black market.
Now, you declared 60 cigarettes? Yes, 60 cigarettes. Where are those 60 cigarettes to begin with? Put them there. That's your declaration, okay? Not a problem.
Yeah.
Do you have any more cigarettes?
I'm not sure. I have 40 more. 40 cigarettes more.
That's all?
Yeah, that's it.
Woody's finding signs that the crew aren't all as honest as they should be.
Just out There's 100. Have you got any more cigarettes hidden? You put on the form 200. There's 300. Got any more?
No, 4 packets. I'm cabin smoke in galley smoke.
Good. Have you hidden any more cigarettes in the galley? Yes. Where have you put them?
No, sorry, no.
It's only a small amount, but it's often a sign of bigger things to come.
A lot of the time the captain doesn't know what the crew are up to. That's why the best areas to search are usually away from where the captain might go on a day-to-day basis.
The captain wants to sail on, but searching the ship could take hours, although there's no evidence of serious smuggling so far.
We've got the initial details. I mean, potentially it was a great big terrorist problem. We had hints that it was going to Libya. We've managed to clamp it down to being a legitimate company, doing legitimate trade, which is basically what our work's all about, really. Sorting out the bad guys from the good guys. Just hang on a sec, he's shouting something. You found 10,000?
Just as they're about to give up, they find a stash of cigarettes deep in the ship's hull.
Cigarettes were found up on top of that ledge, behind some pallets. So this place here was locked. You need to go right around the back there and over the top, and there's 3 pallets there. You go behind the pallets.
Who put them here then? Whose cigarettes are they?
I don't know, I first man on board.
You done his cabin?
I've done his cabin. It's clear.
Money?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, well, okay then, boss. Santa Claus put them there, eh?
Santa Claus?
The bosun, we think, is the only man with the access to this area, but he's saying that everyone's got access to it, so we need to find out now who actually owns the cigarettes and who's put them up there.
The situation is that we think there are more cigarettes on here. Now, there's 2 options. We can stay here and find them, and we are getting dirty, we are getting tired, we're getting upset. Or you can tell the crew to bring any more cigarettes to us.
But they didn't have any.
We have just found 10,000, Captain. And it's causing you a lot of problems if you don't get the owner for us and help us out by trying to find out if there are more cigarettes on here. Maybe you could have a word with the crew and tell them to find cigarettes for us, or there will be problems with the company, and there will also be problems with the fine on the vessel.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could mean a hefty fine if he doesn't cooperate. So the captain summons the crew to the mess deck and reads them the riot act, in the hope of identifying the smuggler. No one owned up, and as the cigarettes were so well hidden, the officers decide not to fine the captain or the company.
We came aboard this ship for the explosives, but also to search it in case there's any more explosives, firearms. So we didn't actually expect to find any cigarettes. But there you go. It's just one of these things, you know. You don't expect to find things, but it's a lot like this job. If you don't look, you don't find.
This smuggler's plan has failed, and the 10,000 cigarettes will now be destroyed. The cocaine smuggler in Bristol pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 9 years in prison. It turns out he's also wanted in Italy for a string of other drug-related offences. Customs officers aboard Searcher are patrolling the deserted waters of the Atlantic in winter. These customs ships are the front line against international drug smugglers.
Well, we're currently about 6.5 miles southwest of Lizard Point in Cornwall. You just slow down a tad, bring them back to about 4. And we've sighted a sloop sailing yacht, which is heading in an easterly direction. We're within territorial limits, so we're going to send our RIB boarding team over there to have a word with them and to see where they've come from.
In summer, the RIB team board dozens of yachts a day, hunting for smugglers hiding amongst the traffic. But winter also produces drug seizures from criminals on do-or-die missions across the Atlantic.
We haven't seen any other yachts recently, so it's always worth checking as to why he's out here and no one else is at the moment.
The only way to find out is to go on board. Protecting Britain's borders is a 24-hour-a-day job. And in the Dover freight lanes, officers have to make instant assessments about which trucks to stop and which to let go.
And the danger is, of course, you say, no, this one's free to go, but you're thinking last night or 2 shifts ago, you know, have I maybe let something through? It's a bit of a game, you know.
On his 12-hour night shift, Alex has stopped a truck carrying salad, which unusually doesn't have a date stamp. It's small mistakes like this which can catch out smugglers.
It's hard to see though from the paperwork, right? This paperwork's pretty duff here.
The state of the trailer makes Alex suspect it may have something to hide.
Yeah, okay.
It's be a refurb. Well, not a very good one, but
we'll go drill it.
I'll look in the base first.
Right. Okay, chef, we go to Rampa. Rampa? Chef, you drive. No problem. No problem, chef. We go to Rampa.
The driver's annoyed at being delayed, claiming the delay will ruin his perishable salad and he won't get paid.
Okay, chef, we give you document.
But a trailer like this must be searched properly.
No problema. Stop pretending no problema. Okay, chef, we're going to take a look, yeah? So we're going to Rampa. But in the driver's attitude as well, you know, when I tried to direct him to the base, he's trying to tell me he's got to be in Birmingham by 8 o'clock in the morning. We all know what the traffic's like.
Smugglers use any space they can to evade customs detection. Alex has seen plenty of dodgy vehicles and thinks this may be yet another.
There's screws missing. I mean, it'd be a pretty obvious one, but stranger things have happened.
As the excitement builds amongst the team, in the bay next door, another team have made a shocking find.
Yeah, is it possible to get immigration to the base, please? We've got one illegal at the moment.
This team have just found a clandestine concealed underneath the vehicle.
If you look from underneath the back of the lorry, you can just see a leg sticking out.
The shocked driver appears to know nothing about the illegal stowaway, who's still hiding under the truck.
Well, I was just checking the floor of the trailer from back, and I was just shining my torch along the underneath the trailer, and I could see a person's leg, a pair of jeans or something underneath the trailer. It's just someone sitting on top of the axles. It's a bit shocking, really.
Illegal immigrants risking their lives in this way is frighteningly common. Officers manage to gently persuade the stowaway out of his freezing hiding place.
That's it.
Yep.
Field pallet.
Right.
2 pallet.
Yes.
Scared and cold, the man is surrounded and detained. Next, officers make sure he isn't going to pose a threat to them or himself.
Have we got one? Have we got a knife?
You have no weapon, knife?
No pistol?
Okay.
No, okay. Right.
A detention notice will be issued by the immigration authorities, and then Group 4 will come detain the person until the immigration authorities actually can come and process him in the morning, which isn't too far away now.
It's a somber end to a long night, especially for this man and the driver.
You know, just shine my torch and everyone just knows it's a clandestine. We know it's an immigrant. When I say I've seen quite a few, so the driver's more shocked than me. And when we showed him, you could see he was quite upset, really.
The driver's truck appeared to be the perfect cover for this illegal immigrant, but his long journey will end in a night behind bars. Meanwhile, the angry behaviour of the driver on the other rummage bay means his truck will be x-rayed. Ben's team are now hopeful they too will find something.
I think that's the guy's attitude as well is not putting us off.
Also on the hunt for drugs, the RIB team are now set to search the suspicious yacht. Customs officers have the power to board and search any vessel, but sometimes this invasion of privacy can cause tensions. The cutter monitors the situation on board, whilst doing background checks on the yacht and its crew.
Looks like a nice enough couple, don't they? They've got their life jackets on and life raft, dinghy. Usually people are quite helpful and friendly, and they're quite pleased to see us and chat to us. Hopefully.
The sailors may look happy enough, but on board they're venting their frustrations at being boarded.
This is the second time this has happened to us. Yes.
Is this recently, is it?
Well, no. Some years ago, but it just feels so intrusive. It took absolutely ages last time, and we had a stinking passage.
Right.
Arrived about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And some flipping customer spoke with all else to do.
That's it. I couldn't believe it. At that time in the morning. Well, like I say, it should only take a couple of minutes.
The RIB team do their best to calm the sailors, while the cutter checks for previous offences.
Thank you.
They weren't too happy about us going on board. They'd had a bad experience with customs before, and they were fine by the time we left. Obviously, you're boarding a yacht, and these people live on those yachts for days and days at a time, so they've got all their personal possessions and everything out there and below. You've got to be careful when you're going into somebody else's home like that. So they were happy enough when we left.
The search may have been an inconvenience, but officers must take action if they see something that fits the profile of a smuggler. But most customs work comes from intelligence leads. In Gatwick, the intelligence unit has identified 2 suspects returning from Trinidad, and the officers are waiting for them. The suspects have been ignoring each other for the whole flight.
He's looking around.
This is behaviour often associated with smugglers.
Just behind the barrier. The guy in the khaki, he was looking around a hell of a lot when he came down here.
Yeah, he was.
Or when he's been down here. But they've disassociated from all of their travel until now.
This is our 2 coming.
Yeah, sir. Hi. Where are you from today?
Pardon?
You in from Barbados?
Port of Spain.
Port of Spain. Okay, can we have a quick word? Are you travelling with anybody at all?
Yes, I am.
Okay. You come on over for both of them.
Go on, let's just get it over and done with. Go on, strip the bags down.
Is this your luggage?
Go for it. Knock yourselves out.
Yeah. Is this your luggage?
Just knock yourself out. That's mine. Help yourself.
And that one's yours, is it?
Yep.
Okay. Did you pack all this luggage yourselves?
Yes, I did.
That's great. Has anybody given you anything to bring into the country?
No.
Okay, and you understand some things are not allowed here drugs-wise, of course.
Really?
Okay.
Like what?
All right,
Help me
that's
out.
great. Cannabis and all the rest
Seriously?
of it. Yeah.
Not allowed that here, no?
No, that's right. Okay, come on over.
The bag swab on the man in beige gives a hit for
Check if
cocaine.
there's any traces of a test for cocaine and heroin. No, it's not worth it. If that's
That's
all time to go. I've got authority to rub him down. Yeah, no problems.
The man in black also gives a high score for cocaine. It looks like the intelligence may prove correct.
No, there's one final thing that we'd like to do.
Which is?
Search a person.
Sure, you're not going to take my word for it, though.
Well, unfortunately, much as we might like to, we've got to be 100% certain.
In Dover, the salad truck with a suspicious floor is about to be x-rayed.
Yeah, we're just doing lots of scanning. So obviously, a load like that, we can't really get into without ruining it, really. Or certainly some anyway, so just get the scan and hopefully that'll clear it or not.
The delayed driver's behaviour is the other reason they decided to scan the lorry.
The driver's attitude isn't doing himself any favours at the moment still, so... And obviously, although we've done the outsides and looked at the structure of the vehicle, it's always handy to have a second opinion, which is what this kind of gives us.
The team were initially convinced this was going to be a job, but it's looking like the team who found the illegal immigrant have had all the excitement for tonight.
No, it's like watercress or something like that, so it's very light. What the rest of it is, I don't know.
The scan quickly shows that the floor is clean, and the cargo of salad can be on its way.
If you're happy, mate.
Alex and Ben send the driver away reasonably happy, advising him to allow more time in future. The officers then go back out to stop their next customer. Drug smuggling through airports is big business for organised gangs. Today, Customs have a tip-off that passengers carrying cocaine will be arriving in Bristol from Amsterdam.
We've already
had a word with immigration. Once they've been pointed out, we've got 2 officers that are ready to do the arrest.
With no idea what they look like, John's team are hoping to get a point out from immigration and will then stop and search the suspects.
30s. The lady has got an address in Holland and an address in the US, but we think they're both UK nationals. Basically, you can smuggle drugs in anything. We've had it in baby's milk powder, in tins of fruit, in tins of vegetables, meat even. They just adapt and improve their techniques, and we've got to make sure that we keep up with that and find it and keep it off the streets.
It turns out the female passenger is an American national, and the answers she gives to immigration's questions are already revealing lies.
The woman with the orange jacket on is sat down behind immigration, or in front of immigration. That's the woman.
She's staying with him at this address, travelling alone.
Super. I've got to go just in case he goes through. That's brilliant.
The passengers have split up, but an immigration officer at passport control identifies the suspect and gives John and Erica a discreet nod. The tip-off was that the passengers are bringing in cocaine. The lies at passport control are suspicious, but John needs to find the evidence or they'll be free to go.
Do you want me?
Hello, sir. Customs. You travelling on your own today? Who are you travelling with?
Well, my girlfriend, she's still the other side. She's an American citizen, so she's being held up there for a minute.
Oh, right, OK. And is this all your luggage?
That's hers, that's mine, and this is mine.
OK. So why have you picked your girlfriends up then?
Being polite.
Right, OK. You just want to come through with me then? And does she live with you full-time, or is she just here on vacation?
Just here visiting.
OK. Have you got a ticket for your flight?
The man's admission that he's travelling with his girlfriend contradicts her story at immigration, and the route they've flown sounds like an attempt to avoid customs attention.
And you've come in from Amsterdam. Were you anywhere before Amsterdam?
Yep, Texas, Frankfurt, and Chicago.
So how long have you been out of the UK?
Since Thursday.
So, are you married?
Yeah, I'm married.
All right, when did you get married?
Friday.
Oh. Do you ever use any drugs?
Nah.
No? What about your girlfriend?
Nope. I've done in the past, but I decided to get my act together.
Do you still smoke then, or not?
No, I'm troubled now.
Well, you're completely clean. You must have a vice.
The female passenger has been interviewed by immigration and can now be searched by customs.
From Dallas to Frankfurt, Germany.
Right.
And then Frankfurt, Germany to Amsterdam, and then Amsterdam
to here.
Bristol.
Right.
Their flight plans match up, but the woman is very nervous.
I really have to pee. Is there some point, does somebody want to go with me to the bathroom? I just gotta pee. If you're gonna watch me pee, I just gotta go.
Because the woman is possibly carrying drugs, Erica must accompany her to the toilet.
Okay.
But it turns out to be just nerves. And John's bag search has also turned up nothing.
It was looking really good because the woman at immigration said that she's on her own. He came down, started fiddling with his mobile to text her, picked up her bag and brought her bag through while she was still at immigration. After, obviously he may not have known that she had said that she was on her own.
You finished the bags?
Yeah, I'll do some testing.
The last thing to do is swab the bags for drugs. If this comes up negative, John will be forced to let the suspects go. Back in Gatwick, the officers are body searching the 2 targets whose bags gave high readings for cocaine.
You just turn around, raise your arms out the side.
What did your friend do?
Is he okay? He seems a bit jumpy.
He's just hyperactive.
Is he? He's not hyperactive at the moment for a reason. He hasn't been using on the plane, is it, or something like that? If you want to wait here for your buddy, I should imagine he'll get searched as well soon. I understand his bag's given a reading for cocaine as well.
Told you before. Wait, no. That's why he found a trace. I told him, I said the reason he found a trace in the laptop is because I was sitting there, do a bit and play on my laptop.
What's he saying? He's been out for a holiday?
Been out there for a holiday. He's used coke and cannabis, which is why the high traces of coke on the laptop bag. There you go. He's been well turned out whilst he was over there, and he knew that he was being stopped on the way back.
Do you fancy him for internal tour?
No, I don't think so.
No? Right, okay. Let's get him on the way.
Yeah.
Right.
The intelligence that they're involved with drugs was correct, but personal use abroad isn't a matter for UK customs, and the search for smugglers will have to continue.
There's a sense of anti-climax, because, I mean, you're looking for the gear and it's not there. But, you know, next time.
Successful drug seizures at sea are often triggered by foreign surveillance aircraft who alert British customs when a suspicious vessel is headed for UK waters.
In February 2000, we became alerted to suspicious activity by the French Customs Service, who had been patrolling the western fringes of the Bay of Biscay. They did some basic checks, as they do in all vessels, and found out that it had been registered from Panama. They also noticed that there was a number of items on board which appeared to be barrels, which they thought was a little bit unusual. They got in quite close to it, and I think as a result of that, the vessel turned off its GPS, which the French thought a little bit unusual. They were suspicious of that. The vessel was heading towards the UK mainland.
Immediately, the French alerted the British cutters.
We were very fortunate in that we had quite a number of cutters who were actually in South Coast ports at the time, and therefore they were immediately deployed to the coordinates that the French were constantly giving for the vessel.
With no GPS, the aircraft needed to maintain constant visual contact with the vessel named the Deep Diver.
It was very important to continue to track the vessel, and round the clock, this was during the day and at night, they sent up light aircraft to continue that monitoring.
As the Deep Diver entered British waters, the suspects on board knew they were being watched from all sides.
The cutters who were surveilling the Deep Diver were able to observe the barrels being jettisoned by someone on that particular vessel into the English Channel.
The cutter crew decided to strike.
They don't know what they're going to find. It could be that there are firearms on board, and officers have met their death in doing this type of work before.
Once on board, the crew were arrested immediately. Meanwhile, the RIB team searched for the evidence. Their swift action recovered all the barrels containing one of the biggest hauls of cannabis for years.
And when all the barrels were recovered, it totaled 680 kilos of cannabis, which then had a street value in the region of about 3.5 to 4 million pounds. So it was a very significant seizure of cannabis. They were all eventually found guilty by jury trial, and they were sentenced to 9, 7 and 5 years.
Thanks to the cutters, 3 more drug smugglers were safely behind bars. Back in Bristol, John's waiting for the result of the last drug swab on the passengers from Amsterdam. The test result proves that the anonymous tip-off claiming they were carrying drugs was false.
Okay, what we do, we'll pack you back up.
Yep.
Quite happy, really.
Yeah.
He's very calm. I just don't understand why she would have told the immigration officer she's travelling on her own.
They got a problem.
Have they?
Which would justify why they split.
But he's completely clean. Shoes, bag, passport.
But what began as a customs search has identified an immigration problem, and their contradictory accounts will help immigration with their inquiries.
But she said she was travelling on her own at the interception point.
And that absolutely up nicely for us if you don't want. She's not disclosed that.
Oh, right, okay. I've just been to speak to immigration, and there's a problem with her passport in that it looks like she's doing lots of trips in and around Europe, possibly to disguise the fact that she's been staying in the UK for longer than she perhaps should be. And because she's made untruthful statements to immigration, it looks highly likely that they're going to be sending her back to the United States.
The couple are given the all clear by customs, but the female passenger will be detained, which won't please her new husband.
Immigration are keeping her there for the time being. They want to have a chat with her. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do to help you with that. I mean,
the thing is,
I'm not.
you approached us because of my appearance.
No, it wasn't that.
No?
No. I can assure you it wasn't anything to do with your appearance.
Okay.
All right?
You can deny
I mean,
that.
there are... Your wife has said things which are concerning immigration at the moment, and that's why they want to talk to her about it.
That wasn't why you pulled us in there, was it?
I pulled you in separate to your wife.
You pulled me in because of my appearance.
It had nothing to do with your appearance.
I'm afraid I think it was.
All right, but
I think you're being prejudiced.
Okay.
I think this sucks.
The man's anger gets him nowhere, and he storms off alone. She wasn't a smuggler, but the man's wife failed to convince immigration that she was a genuine tourist and was sent back to America.